Hello. Like my color? Anyway, I'd like to discuss the fact that people do the right thing and get screwed for it. And I don't care how much money you make. And you think, well, I'm getting paid well, and it was all worth it. Well, was it really? Uh, I myself worked very little in my life, very little in my life. And I never chased money. I never cared. I used to get a raise at work, and I didn't even know how much I got. I didn't ask. They just told me I got a raise, and I'm like, okay. So I didn't care. And I didn't ask for a raise. I didn't uh, demand a raise or anything like that ever. And it's just I didn't. Money wasn't, and still isn't, my focal point. Um, and I take my cousins for example. They work. They all work, and they have money. Most most all of them are not poor. Uh, but they're slaves to the system. They can't not work. They can't not work, and they can't just take a year off and do what they want with their life. And you know, you only get one life. I mean, if you get reborn again, that's great. But if you don't, you're kind of screwed. You get this one life to live, and you got to ask yourself, what am I going to do with it? You know, am I going to waste it making a millionaire, more millions, uh, so he can use me and discard me when he's done with me, like yesterday's garbage? And that's what I felt when I worked. Like that's what I was. I worked for EMI Records. I worked for which EMI Records Capital Records Group. It was both labels in one company and many other labels they had. It was a group, and they fired me for pretty much stupid reasons. They made up reasons actually. They didn't have a reason. They made them up. Um, but and the head of human resources, who loved me, wouldn't be a part of the meeting. She said, "No, I'm not. I'm not coming to that meeting." I said, "I'm not. I'm not in support of you firing him." And she protested, and she was the head of human resources, and she got me another job in an accounting firm. And it wasn't a matter of, I was only unemployed for about a week, and I got a better job. I got more money and less work. I work from home. I had more freedom, and turned out to be the best firing in the world. I loved it. So, but I didn't even stay at that job. I ended up walking away from that job too. You know, and my cousins, one is makes over $1 million a year as an accountant, and makes about a $3-4 million bonus every December. Uh, she gets every December. She gets a $3-4 million bonus, and but she's still a slave. I don't be fooled by the numbers. She has to she has to work. She can't just say I'll see you next year. Yeah, and go do what she wants. And no, she can do that, but she would lose all the money. And she has a house in Florida where the headquarters of the company is, and she has a house in Long Island where she grew up, and she has a family. She's got to support her daughters, support her husband. Her husband is supported by her salary, and he has an Aston Martin, so he lives a good life. And he's a bit of a drunk, but it's just because you got money doesn't mean your life is perfect in any way, shape, or form. They're trapped. They're trapped with that money. That money is the wall around the prison. You know, and I mean, her prison might look better than say yours, but it's nonetheless a prison. And you know, when you go upstate and compared to county jails are hellholes, and they're meant to be that way on purpose because most people end up at a county jail. Most people don't end up at a prison. So they're trying to deter crime. You know, and they send you to a hellhole, and you say, "Oh, I don't want to go back there," you know, and you won't commit a crime. So that's the logic behind that. But you know, when you go upstate to the prisons, you know, it's more free reign. It's more you can go outside, you can play, go in the yard, but it's more dangerous. It's you're still in the prison. There's a wall behind the wall behind the wall, so you can't break free. You can't get out of the prison. You know, and whatever time you're there, that's your life. You know, you're in prison, and that's your life too. Even though you're not in prison, that's your life. You know, if you're an accountant, if you're a nurse, if you're a storekeep, if you run a 7-Eleven, that's your life. That's your prison. You know, and you're a slave to it. And and